Today in the studio we're going to start printing this new Hasui design. It will be 2 impressions, one at the horizon and one at the bottom of the sheet. They'll both be subtle gradations. One's here at these 2 holes, and one's a gradation into the waves or the reflection of the moon. It's a subtle green color, and I'll be using 2 rollers loaded with the same color. As a reminder, for our version of this print, I'm using linoleum and oil-based pigment. I've also scaled it up to about 7 inches by 10 from the original design. I'm trying to recreate a woodblock print using these Western printmaking materials. I want to introduce you to the paper I will be using for this print. For this edition, I'm going to use 4 different kinds of paper. First, this is a traditional Western printmaking. It's very thick, it's kind of like a cardstock. It's smooth and will take many impressions. Second is a handmade washi or kozo paper from Japan. It's very thin, unsized. Third, I have this natural toned paper, which again is handmade, made in Japan. It's very transparent, very similar to washi or woodblock printmaking paper. And then the last is it's a little bit thicker, has some pulp in it. I believe it's machine made, and again it's made in Japan, and it's a nice thin paper as well. So each paper is going to give a different appearance of the print, and I'm curious to see how they're all going to turn out. These are the first impressions from yesterday, and I wanted to show you the difference in the paper and how you could take this is a 100% cotton rag. It's quite thick, and you can see how the first impression gradations worked here. And then these are the 2 handmade Japanese papers. But I wanted to point out the transparency of these. Look at how transparent this is. You can really see how thin I'm printing these colors and how transparent this paper is. It's really cool. And this one as well. So different papers will give a different effect. And when I do my printing, I always have some test sheets. So this is what we printed up on this level, and down here printed a gradation up. The goal was to fade it into the white of the sheet, and here just have it in the center and fade it in. So our next impression is from this block, and these holes will show, this color will show through these holes and through here. And then this is going to be a flat tone. As you can see here, first one's going to be a flat tone, and then I'm going to come back and do a gradation in the sky to darken the sky, and that'll bring out the moon and bring out the reflection in the water. So this will be the second and third impression from this block. I'm going to start mixing my color, and a few things you'll need before you mix color. First, you'll need your pigment. We have transparent white, cobalt blue, this is a blue black, some ultramarine blue, and this is it's a yellow. It's called Hanga yellow. You also need a scraper to clean your palette, and a palette knife to mix your pigments, and some paper towels nearby. This is the brayer I'll be using for this. And we'll be mixing in some transparent base after we nail our color. So this is different than Mocha because I'm using opacity. I'm trying to make the print look like a woodblock print or Mocha print. So I have to really consider how opacity and transparency are going to react together. So a general rule that I follow, or I have come across, is that if you have a color that's opaque or has any opacity in it, it will look cooler when it's overlaid another color, when it's over top of another color. I'm going for like a light, that's probably too much, that's way too much yellow. See, I'm getting way off here, so I'm gonna have to start again. So I can take a little bit of this. I want to gray it down a little bit. I'll put a little this blue black in. I need a little bit of ultramarine too. Need more white. So I want to lighten this color up, so I'll take some away for now. And I'm going to add the white to this first. See what that does. So I don't ruin the whole pile of ink. It's hard to see the color when it's on a piece of glass. That's why I always use test strips. This is my color from yesterday. And yeah, I want this to be a little bit more blue than yesterday's color. This is yesterday's color. It's today. It's going to be thinner though, because I'm going to add in some transparency. I also have my test print here from the other day. And that's really blue compared to this. Really blue. So I might need a little yellow. This stuff's very strong. Some more white. Just a touch of this. It's a little bit more green. It's hard to see. I think this will work. I'm going to mix about 50-50 of pigment to transparent base. So here we have my transparent base. I'm just going to put that right in. It looks like a lot. We'll see. Again, the transparent base is just the oil without any pigment inside it. It's just clear. I gotta put back down my flap here. Forgot to do that yesterday. There we go. Put that aside. We'll mix this real good. Let's just take a little. So yeah, I wanted a little bit more blue than yesterday's color. And these blues were, this was the pigment before the transparent base. Now this is the pigment after I added transparent base. I think that's gonna work. Just gonna add a little bit more of this. That should work. So I'm going to get this ready for the roller. I'm just going to smooth it out. And bring it down. Always keep your palette knife clean. And your palette clean. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Just keep everything clean and organized. Start rolling this out. See, I'm letting this spin a little. You don't want to just keep it down and do over and over. You want to kind of keep it rolling. Keep it spinning. That's very transparent. Very transparent. I also scored the surface a little bit with some rough sandpaper, some 80 grit sandpaper. I kind of sanded it some texture into this face. So I want to reproduce, you can see here, I want to reproduce the appearance of brush marks that happen during traditional woodblock printmaking. I also like to add a little texture into the surface of the print. Just adds a little different another quality to it, an aesthetic quality. After I have the whole block inked up, I'll gently roll it across to even out any imperfections. And now this is ready for printing. I'm using a press for this. At least the early stages of this print, I'm going to use a press. It's very fast and it's easy to use. It looks good. So I just ran this through the press, and let's see what it looks like. Now this is just a sample proof sheet. But now you can see the gradation that we made yesterday, and you can see that color overlay. It's very subtle. You can also see the sanded marks that I was talking about. It's just a nice little touch. I think that color is going to work. If we compare it to our print before, maybe a little darker, which more saturated, which I like. Alright, so we'll just keep going with this. So now we just keep inking and keep printing. This is just a flat color, so just even distribution across the whole block. It takes some practice to get good at rolling on the ink. You always make sure your edges are clean. You always look at the surface to see if there's any areas you missed, or if there's any debris on the surface. Let's go get this one printed. All right. There it is. You can see I touched the block up here with my finger. Took off some ink. When I was putting it down on the registration, I accidentally touched it. Luckily, we're going to be doing a nice dark gradation over the top here. And there's some really dark areas in that portion of the print. So we didn't ruin this print. You won't even know it happened. This is one of the Japanese paper prints. Let's see how this turned out. Really nice. And I want to show one of these natural papers going down. It's harder to register. It's harder to get these in the registration because they're so thin. So you really have to be careful. Because this paper is thinner than the cotton rag, I did tighten the press down a little bit more to get a little more pressure on that thin paper. So I run it through twice. Let's see how this one turned out. So far, so good.